Hey guys, this is Welcome to Adulting, the podcast where we don't know what we're talking about, but we try to give you advice anyways. I'm John.
I'm Caleb.
I'm Shawna.
And we're going to be talking about how to be an adult. I don't even know what I'm doing now, but we're still going to give you advice and tell you what you're doing. Today, we're going to be talking about a topic that I feel like should be a really easy thing. We're talking about making friends, which, you know, we've all got people that we would call friends. We've got people who are close to us, but statistically, people our age are really struggling with friendships, with making friends. Millennials are often cited as being like one of the loneliest generations with the lowest amount of friends. So we're going to talk about that, but we're going to kind of talk about how we like making friends, how we can do that better. But first, I want to celebrate things that we are doing well, some adulting wins. Shawna, how have you adulted this week?
Yeah, so my husband and I are looking at building a house. So we met with a financial advisor and we kind of like started estimating costs and everything. So that's really exciting.
Wow. Building a house.
Yeah, well, he's a contractor. So that's how we can afford it.
Yeah, absolutely. So is it going to be multi-level, one level? What are you thinking? What are you dreaming about?
Okay, so we're going to be a raised ranch. And there's a lot right next to our parents' house in the country, which is perfect because it's country. I mean, who doesn't love that? But also, silver lining, if the kids are crabby, they can go right over to Grandma and Grandpa's house.
Oh, that's perfect.
And you can do that thing that my parents did when I was growing up, where if we were really hyper, they would say, just go run around the house. And you're in the country, so they can just like go run around the yard and just go and go and go.
Are you going to get a farm dog?
You already have a dog.
Well, we have a German Shepherd.
Okay.
And she is the most loving dog. So I think that we're German Shepherd people forever.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome.
That's fun.
I can't wait to get a dog.
Nice. I can't either. I have an apartment that won't let me have dogs, but I would much rather have an apartment where I don't have to worry about, you know, mowing my lawn and fixing the sink when it's messed up and, you know, all those things than have a dog. So we're good. Nice. But nice. That's exciting. I'm excited for you.
Thank you.
Caleb, how have you adulted?
Well, recently we got our first mortgage bill. Ooh. So I had to pay my mortgage for the first time, which is exciting. It also was terrifying because apparently they traded our mortgage 3 times already. And I was like, what bank am I to pay my mortgage to?
You just got that house. Like, this is, again, your first mortgage payment. That's crazy.
And so I just had to figure it out. And I'm like, are you going to be here next month?
And what did you put on Facebook? You're like, made my first payment, 50 million to go.
50 million to go. Yeah. But what's really going to be nice is we are now officially done with everything to do with our apartment, the bills there and everything. So this upcoming month, when we get everything, we're really going to be able to sit down, have a budget meeting, see how things are going to work out. So that's really exciting to see how we're going to be able to make a nice dent early on in our mortgage.
That's
Congratulations,
exciting.
Guys.
Nice. I feel like your guys' are way more actual adulting than mine is. Because mine's a small thing. I'm working on my health. I'm trying to get healthier, you know, trying to lose weight, eat better, and just kind of like keep up a healthy lifestyle instead of just like diet. So what I did was I started buying cashew milk instead of dairy milk because it's like a quarter of the calories. It doesn't taste nearly as good, and I wish it did. It's not as creamy, but it's so much better for you. It's got this like toasty flavor, which is actually kind of enjoyable. I'm just kind of getting used to it. But I'm really proud of myself because I did what I would consider a fairly like mature thing, which is buying something that I like a little bit less, but that's a lot better for me.
I love cashew milk. Great choice, John.
That's awesome, but what's the difference between cashew milk and almond milk?
It's got less calories, and I believe it's higher in, I think it's higher in calcium, higher in like a lot of the healthy stuff that's in milk, and I think it tastes better than almond milk. I'm not a huge almond milk fan.
It's also a texture thing. Almond milk is kind of like watery, and cashew milk kind of is very close to milk.
It's the closest to milk of any of the like non-dairy milk substitutes. Also, my stomach doesn't do good with milk, you guys. I get a little bit of the, you know, the dairy grumbles. So having...
But you live in the dairy state.
I know. I've dealt with this my whole life. So now it's like one little thing that I'll still eat, you know, Culver's. I'll still have a bunch of custard and whatnot, and a bunch of cheese, but at least now I can have cashew milk instead, so my tummy won't be quite as grumbly.
I love this conversation. If this isn't an adulting conversation, I don't know what is.
About-
Like when you were little, it's like, hey, what unhealthy Lunchable did you get today? Now we're talking about milk. I
And
love
like
it.
pizza one, of
Breaking
course.
about, and like the one thing about normal milk versus cashew milk is that, you know, dairy milk has more protein, but I just put it over some like high protein granola and it's great. So I still have the protein and, you know, a quarter of the calories. It's amazing. Try out cashew milk, you guys.
They do not sponsor us, but I support this promotion.
Well, I'm not naming a brand. I'm just saying a type of thing.
I think there's only like
Well,
two or
that's
three
awesome.
brands.
Yeah. So I'm proud of myself. And
Yeah, good job, John.
yeah, I'm proud of you guys. And I'm proud of some of our listeners. We've kind of been asking for some people to submit their adulting wins. Caleb, where can they find us online?
Yeah, share your adulting wins online on Facebook. It's Welcome to Adulting -podcast. And you can like us on Instagram, share your stories there as well. We do have a website, welcometoadultingpod.com. And when you subscribe, rate, and comment on our iTunes or on Google Podcasts, you can share your adulting wins there as well.
Yeah. I got one from a listener, Leah, and she said, I live by myself, and a few months ago, I bought a 3-pound box of elbow noodles at the dollar store and cooked almost the entire box because I grossly overestimated how many noodles I would be able to eat. I ate noodles for almost every meal for the rest of the week. I feel like that's the most, like, starting out adulting thing, and I'm in like the same place. It's so tough to cook for one, and so you'll make a recipe that, you know, in your mind is like, oh, I loved when mom cooked this, or oh, I love elbow macaroni noodles, I'm gonna cook a bunch of that and I'll be set. And then you just have a bunch of, you know, I did this with chili a couple weeks ago, so you just have a bunch of chili and it's like, well, guess that's my week. You know. So good job, Leah, way to adult and plan out your meals.
Which if she completed that is a huge win, because once you have it after like 4, maybe 5 times, maybe even less for some people, you're kind of done with it.
After like 2 or 3, I'm done with, you know, well, I don't know. You can do a lot with pasta. So I feel like that's at least a little bit versatile, but like with my chili, I got through maybe I got through like 2/3 of it, but there was still a bunch of chili left where I'm just like, I can't do it. And then it stayed in my fridge for about a month and then grew some hair on it. So I had to throw it off. So, yeah. So congratulations, Leah. You adulted. We're proud of you. And you can share your adulting wins as well. Like Caleb was saying, on Facebook, on Instagram, go to adultingpod.com. Find all the places that you can share your wins. We'd love to share them on the show. So we're going to be taking a quick break really quick, but when we come back, we're going to talk about friends, making friends, and the difficulties that we all face with that, but also kind of, you know, talk about the fun things with friendship as well. So stay tuned.
Thank you to the Family Radio Network for helping create Welcome to Adulting. Make sure you download the Family app on your phone to bring great music and your favorite podcast, Welcome to Adulting, wherever you go. The Family is available for both Apple and Android users. Just type in Family Radio Network on your search screen, click on the blue Family logo, download, and you're ready to go.
Hey guys, welcome back. This is Welcome to Adulting, and like we said before the break, today we're going to be talking about friends. Did you guys know, Caleb, you know, you sent me this infographic. 45% of adults say that they have difficulty making new friends, and the average person hasn't made a new friend in the past 5 years. That's crazy to me. That sounds ridiculous, and that sounds like a long time. But it totally makes sense, you know. You kind of get locked in your job or with the group that you have, and it's really tough to kind of go outside of that and make new friends.
I think part of it too is we're creatures of habit, and social media makes it really easy to have virtual friends. So why go out and make the effort to have, you know what I mean?
Yeah, and I think it's really important. You bring up a good point about social media. You know, I've added new friends on Facebook a bunch, but this is not a profound statement that like that doesn't count as real friends, you know?
Right.
So I think what we're talking about is like those real friendships that you can have real conversations with. You know, like there are all sorts of levels of friendships, but the level where you can have, you know, a real conversation, talk about what's really going on in your life. And when I was a kid, that was super easy to make friends. Like you would do the thing where you just like walk up to some kid at kindergarten and be like, hey, I like your shirt. It's got Batman on it. Want to be friends? But now as an adult, actually, I feel like I would actually do that still as an adult. If someone had a Batman shirt on, I'd be like, hey, nice shirt. Like, you wanna talk? But it's a lot different, you know. You kind of have more social, you know, knowledge, I guess. Anxiety is a better word. I was trying to put a positive spin on it because, like, we know that we're not supposed to just go up to someone and be like, hey, you want to be friends? But we're kind of also hoping that someone does that for us.
Well, and if that happens now, sometimes you're like, okay, am I in danger?
Who's this weirdo?
Are we okay?
Yeah. Like, I've seen enough episodes of Dateline to know if, like, some creep just comes up and is like, do you want to be friends? Like, no, thank you. Yeah, so it's tough. And I kind of want to ask, like, for you guys, what's the most difficult part of making friends?
So I can answer that. I am introverted. So that is very difficult. And I mean, I was introverted even growing up, where I remember going to community college and talking to people, and they'd be like, are you new here? Like, did you just move to the area? I'm like, actually, we've been in the same class since 5th grade. So it's just like, I'm just introverted. And so making friends is difficult for me, but maintaining those friendships is easy. And I mean, I've had the same core group of friends since grade school.
Yeah. I feel like in a way, I almost have the opposite problem of you. Because when I was a kid, I grew up as a missionary kid, and apparently there have been like studies about how they like relate to people. And so we moved around a lot. So I just kind of learned like, oh, if I'm not near you, I'm just not going to talk to you anymore. So like if I'm not near someone and in the same like area as them, I just stop communication with them. Because in my mind, it's like, oh, cool, we're not friends anymore. That's fine. Like, it's just kind of what happens. So I'm actually not horrible at, you know, finding people. It's maintaining those friendships and kind of latching onto that, because, you know, there are a few friends that I have from college who I've made like a really intentional effort to keep those friendships up. And those have been the most rewarding friendships for me. But there are friends from, you know, I lived in Colorado for a little bit. I really wish I would keep up with those people, but I just don't. So finding friends isn't hard. It's maintaining them that I struggle with.
For me, so I'm like Caleb, where I'm an introvert, but I think mine stems from I am so self-conscious. So that is like my wall and my anxiety when I'm making new friends is, what do they think of me? So for me, it's just easier to be who I'm already with and just let that be. So
yeah. Absolutely, it is. But I mean, there are always curveballs that happen in life. Like moving from Chicago to Wisconsin, we were leaving a core group of friends in our church community that had a huge impact on both my wife's and I's relationship, as well as just deep, profound friendships that we've had for many, many years. And so we just had to be praying that God would provide us a community up in Wisconsin. I mean, he has, but it was a tough time. There was a long time, 5 months, I would say, until I made a friend up here.
So yeah, I think we can all kind of like identify the difficulty of it, but I kind of want to flip this now and go a little bit positive too.
Absolutely.
Because I'm really proud of myself. I'm kind of like in the process of making a friend right now. And I'm really afraid of like being too excited and too like, yay, you're a new person. Like, I want to be your best friend, and like scaring them off. Being like that creepy guy on Dateline. But making new friends is fun. And I want to talk about that because I am notorious for having, like, if you guys have ever heard the term like a friend crush, which is not like having a romantic crush on someone else. It's where you see someone else that you just want to be friends with because you think that you have something in common, or you think they're cool or whatnot. And so I'm really bad at going from a friend crush to actually being a friend with someone. So how do you guys go from the thing where like either being acquaintances or meeting someone and then actually becoming friends with them?
Our biggest routine is inviting them to dinner. And I think that is because, I mean, I'm married and I have kids, so whatever I do usually includes the whole family. So making dinner is easy, and for some reason, having food makes things less awkward. So a lot of eating.
How do you deal with friends who are, because you mentioned having kids, one thing that I struggle with is friends that have kids or who are in a different life stage than me. It's really tough for me to feel like we can be friends. You know, if I go to someone's house and they have kids, normally then they're like little like babies and stuff, but that's really kind of strange for me, not because I don't like kids, but because I just feel this strange thing of, oh, I can't relate to them now. So, you know, how do you relate to people who are like me, who are single, who maybe aren't even married yet and definitely don't have kids?
Well, so I think the biggest advice first is, if you have friends that have kids, be willing to always go to their house. It's easier for them. And I mean, it's great knowing that your friends are okay with your kids being crazy and you can still like hang out. So that's probably the biggest thing. But it doesn't have to be like we have to have the same lifestyles to be friends. You can get advice from each other. I mean, and you kind of grow it as yourself by observing the situations. So yeah, I think it's just still invite your friends that have kids, go to their house and have dinner. Yeah.
Yeah, I just experienced this the other day. So we wanted to make friends with some people at our church. And so with a basketball game that was going on, we decided to have a bonfire and put the TV outside and watch the basketball game with the bonfire. And it was great because in Chicago, we would always have bonfires and they would go until like 1 or 2 in the morning, just have a great time with all of our friends there. But none of our friends there were married with kids. And up here, almost all of our friends are married with kids. And so we invited them. We're like, yeah, tip off's at 6. And they're like, we'll be there at 5 and we'll be leaving right around tip off because it's time for our kids to go to bed. And some of them stayed with their older kids until the end of the game. But it's just getting used to that and making sure they know that they can bring their kids over and that we want to let them know that they're still a part of the community and that we still want them to be a part of it. I think that was such a cool event to see and it was great.
That sounds
Right.
awesome.
And I think the biggest thing too to keep in mind is that when you get together with friends that don't have kids, like I get anxiety that they're annoyed with like my family's energy. So just be like really verbal about, oh, they're great, no problem.
And it's like anything else too. Like it's kind of like having friends with someone who, you know, is really into sports if you're not into sports, where it's just something different about them, you know? Like I'm starting to get a lot of friends now who are very different from me with their interests. You know, growing up, I would really gravitate towards, I'm a huge nerd, so I'd gravitate towards people who are also huge nerds, you know, so we would talk about Star Wars and comics and whatnot. And I still have those friends, but I also have friends who are really into sports. Like Caleb, you're really into sports. I could care less about sports. Or other friends who are like really musical and really into, you know, making music, and I don't care about that kind of stuff. But we find some sort of common ground that we can relate to and talk about. And I think that that's another thing even with kids, you know, where even if they have kids, you can still find something that you really connect over. And if they're a friend that you've been friends with for a long time, it's just a transition. You just kind of get used to it, but you still at the center are still the same people who can still have that strong relationship.
Okay, so here's a tough question for you.
Mm-hmm.
There is a lady that I met that I know we would be really good friends because we have similar children. And on the back of her car, she had like filled with bumper stickers that are completely opposite of my religious and political belief.
Mm-hmm.
How do you handle those type of things in friendships?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, with grace. I have a lot of friends.
Yeah.
I have a lot of friends who, my closest friends, like I said, since grade school, I am the only Christian in there. In fact, one of my friends through that group left because of him and I talking about Jesus and my openness about Jesus. But yet my other friends, I was the best man in one of my friends' weddings who's like the most agnostic guy in the world. And I love this guy. And it works out because of those other common things, and I love it because it's an opportunity. I might be the only Christian that they know, and we can still get along and respect each other even though we disagree, but it also gives me the opportunity to be that person.
Yeah, and I've got some friends like that as well, where like I worked at a country club for a little bit and I became friends with some people who are super different from me. Like they have very different religious and political views, and that's totally fine, you know, and they're very open about it, and I'm open about what I believe as well. But like we find those things that we agree on, and we find that common ground, and we're able to kind of understand, you know, even if we don't agree on the same things with this, even if we don't have the same views on that, we still are able to have some sort of common interest and have some common ground that we can still have a mutual respect for one another and still, you know, maybe and be open about the things that we think with religious views. We've had some great conversations about what we believe, but understanding that, hey, that's okay that we have these differences. That's okay that we have these views. And, you know, if the person isn't okay with that, that's just kind of where they're at as a person. And, you know, maybe that's just not the time to be friends with them. Maybe there's someone else who can kind of be friends with them in that capacity. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think the biggest struggle with that is sometimes feeling you have to quiet those parts of you when you have a friend that has opposite beliefs. So it's just that balance.
And again, that's true with anything, not even just your beliefs, right. You know, where you can think like, oh, well, these friends don't really care about, you know, whatever, Star Wars, Marvel movies. I'm going to go back to that. But, you know, even if they don't have those things, if they're going to make fun of you and belittle you for that, don't be friends with them. They're not going to be good friends. And I think that like, I think kind of as we transition to kind of wrapping up here, like that's the biggest thing is be okay with finding friends who are in a different stage of life, who have different beliefs, who have different, who have kids, maybe if you don't have kids, who are married, if you're single, but really at the core, like find what makes them a good friend. I have some amazing friends from college that we all have slightly different interests, but we have a few things that we really grasp onto. But beyond that, we've been friends through, some really big life changes. We've talked about some things that are really real. They're some of the few people that I can be genuinely myself around, and that's amazing. And so find those people, find like a core group of those type of people who you can really grow with and, be real around. Do you guys have any final thoughts on this? Any final words of advice for people who are maybe struggling to make friends?
I think the biggest thing is just step out of your comfort zone. Be willing to join groups like either church or summer activities like softball or whatever. So like be willing to try new things, to meet new people. If you stay in your routine, that's what you're going to get is routine.
And kind of going off of that, like I like your idea of, church or softball, or, for me, I love coffee. So like go to a coffee shop, talk to the baristas, or go to a comic book shop, talk to the guy behind there, or something where it's a place where people have like a shared interest. Go there, talk to those people, grow those friendships. They can be awesome. Caleb, do you have any final thoughts or ideas?
Yeah, just going off of what we've been talking about, it's all right. Stretch yourself. It's all right to have friends that may not agree with everything that you believe in. And also just during that time, practice patience. The opportunities will come to talk about those things, but they don't have to come up every time. Just be patient. And when those times come, be who you are. Be that friend that they see you as.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think that's all really good advice. Guys, thank you so much for joining and for, talking about this. This doesn't seem like it's something that we should have to talk about. And because in our minds, it sounds so obvious and so easy, people don't talk about it a lot. And so I think it's really good to have this conversation, to be talking about difficulties with making friends, because we're all struggling with it, but people for some reason don't like talking about it. So thank you for talking about it, Shawna and Caleb, and thank you for listening. Thank you for joining us today. If you have some advice or maybe like a funny story of something that happened with making a friend, share it with us on Facebook or on Instagram. Go to welcometoadultingpod.com and just share with us there, or go to iTunes or Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen to podcasts and share with us by leaving a rating and a review. Thank you to the Family Radio Network for making this show possible. Go to thefamily.net for more hope, for more strength, and more encouragement. And thank you again for listening. As you kind of go on with your week, take a breath. You guys got this.